The following episode contains sensitive topic information that may not be appropriate for young listeners, as well as religious or other views that may not reflect those of the Sirens team.
Welcome, listeners, to Sirens of the Supernatural, your cozy corner for spooky tales. We are Rhonda, Ron, and Lindsay coming to you from the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in whenever and wherever you're listening. And we have a great guest joining us to bring some spooky from way down in the Lone Star State tonight. But first, I want to say hi to Ron and Lindsay. What y'all got good going on?
Well, I was
Wow.
hoping that we would have a snow day, but somebody wrecked that for me. Mother. We're supposed to get snow on Sunday night, and somebody crushed my dreams about a snow day. So, I'm just trying to work past that a little bit.
But I don't control the weather. We'll probably get some snow flurries, I would say.
I
It's supposed to be really cold.
just want a little delay, and I don't think that that's too much to ask. So, fingers
that's
crossed,
fair.
everybody,
All
that
right,
we'll
fingers
get a
crossed.
little bit of a delay on Monday, but really early in the year for snow. So that's kind of odd, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah. They're saying it's going to be a bad winter. Ron, how you doing?
Well, I don't mind snow per se, but I don't want it Sunday. I'll be coming back from Covington, Georgia. We're going to
Yeah,
the
that's
Vampire
true.
Diaries convention and expo. They're having a really big, there's like 4 days of all the Vampire Diaries stuff right there at the Golf Grill.
Wait.
It's going to be really cool. So,
Is
yes,
Damon going to be there?
it's hard to tell who's going to show up. There's a list of celebrities that's like a mile long.
Oh,
Some
my
people say they're
goodness.
going to be there. Some people say there's not. So, I'm sure some people will show up that's probably not on the list.
Mhm.
But we're
That's
going to
Mom's
talk.
second favorite vampire besides
Yes.
Chris Sarandon.
Yeah. And so we look forward to doing that and having fun. We've got the chairs. We're going to be in the park area by the clock tower. We're going to get to watch Vampire Diaries with some of the cast and stuff. So
Oh, my gosh.
it's going to be really neat. So like I said, hold off on the snow. I hate to be a damper, Lindsay,
Yeah.
but let me get home safely Sunday night, Monday morning, and then we
Agreed.
can kind of talk about whatever.
Agreed.
All right.
Well,
All right.
I hope y'all have so much fun. I know you will. I know Lisa will. It's going to be great. I can't wait to hear all about it and see her and your pictures and stuff on the socials. Well, are we ready to
Mhm.
welcome back our spooky good friend and previous guest, Adam Lynch? Adam and his wife, Dulce, live in Texas and started the Weekly Creep podcast a number of years ago, which we've loved from the very get go. And we encourage you listeners to give it a listen if you haven't. Check it out. And tonight, Adam is here to tell us about his new podcast, Houston Strange. Now, that was just getting off the ground when we had you on last time, Adam. Trust us, listeners, you'll want to put this podcast on your favorites list and tune in regularly. So, welcome back, Adam. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and you've been really busy since we talked to you last time. How are
Yeah.
you in Dulce?
Oh, we're doing great. Yeah. I was telling you guys before we started recording, Dulce's in a new job right now and she's absolutely loving it. Getting to see some of the stranger parts of the country. Places that you wouldn't normally think of going. But
Yeah.
so she's having a great time. And since she's like, I think she's about 2 months in that job, and I just kind of buckled down trying to bulk up on like interviews and stuff like that for Houston
Mhm.
Strange, and I've been doing other stuff for other people and stuff like that as well, like photography and videography stuff. So I've been in some like fun, interesting places, yeah, especially the last
Yeah.
2 months specifically. Yeah.
Sounds like it. So, remind our listeners again a little bit about what inspired Houston Strange.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's changing even as I'm kind of doing it, and I'm probably going to repeat myself a little bit, but basically, I think I had come back from early like last year. We had like traveled back home. God, it could have been 2023. I don't even know what year it was, but either way, we had done a few stints going back to Ireland and stuff like that, which is where I'm from. And we came back, and I was just like, there was something like lacking for me, like living in Houston. And at the time, we were pretty serious about moving back to Ireland permanently. And I was like, no, I need to give this a go because I feel like I can get community here.
Mhm.
I was like, this is my fault. This isn't a Houston problem. It's a me problem. You know what I mean? And at that point, like I hadn't, the jobs that I was working and stuff didn't really allow, well, they weren't like, oh, we're all going out on Friday night. Like it just wasn't that kind
Yeah.
of environment and stuff like that. So yeah, I was like, well, let me take the little bit of skill that I've picked up from Weekly Creep and see if I can basically do better. Like that was a lot of it as well. As like there was other podcasts and shows that I'd seen that I was like, they've got teams doing that. I wonder if I could do even like half of what they do on my own. And yeah, so that's kind of it. And now, like season one, like I tell everybody this, numbers wise, they weren't great. You know what I mean? But for the aim of like building community, it was like from the get go. It's like I was saying, like my contacts in my phone is like getting bigger and bigger. Just the other day when I was driving with my mom back from Dallas to here, we ended up taking a back road. Dulce really loves Waco for some reason. And so we passed through, and there's a small little bookshop in Waco. It's got all local stuff in it. And when we were there, I saw this really, really gorgeous copy of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And I was like, oh my God, I know who loves Oscar Wilde. Not me. I'm from, like, he is also from Dublin, but it's not me. But Lawyer, who owns Ravenwolf, one of the rooms in his house is the Dorian Gray room. And it's actually, we stayed there last Valentine's Day. And it just so happened that the way we had taken from Dallas down was going to pass right through Navasota. So I was like, all right, I have to get it for him now. So, and he had just gone through some, like, he was going through some, a not great period. So we literally just like left it on his porch. I drove my mom up to Ravenwolf. It was all kitted out for Halloween and stuff. And just put the book on his porch and just texted him to say, hey, like there's a little something outside. And just kept going. And it was just, that was one of those realizations where I was like, oh no, this, like, it worked, you know?
Yes. We didn't realize that, I don't think, when we got into podcasting. We didn't realize how many friends we would meet and, you know, connections we would make. And that is a big plus of being in the podcasting world. I mean, we're not professionals at all either, but it is a good community. It's a great like-minded community.
It's amazing. I mean, like, we even met Lindsay initially because of Weekly Creep, and then she designed our logo, which is now, you know, all over the world, literally, because people lost their minds when they saw your design of our cat Pork Chop.
I love Pork Chop so much.
I know, and she's knocking around somewhere, but yeah, so it was like, even that, like, you know what I mean? That must have been, what, 4 years ago now, Lindsay?
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. We all looked a little bit different back then, I think.
Well, before we get into talking about Houston Strange, I want to ask this. Now, I've been listening to the podcast, and when you mentioned Lawyer, his episodes just grabbed me because he talked about doppelgangers and he talked about his experiences with doppelgangers, right? And then his sisters playing with the Ouija board and all the weird stuff. I was like, that creeped me out so much because doppelgangers are my like kryptonite, man. I'm just like, they creep me out. But it got me to thinking as I was listening back through the episodes. I'm curious to know, like, how do you look for those stories and locations? And once you hear about or you find a location or a story that you're interested in, what's your process to bringing that to fruition on the show?
I would say 95% of it is just pure luck. I also blame Lawyer for the fact that this has turned into like a whole video production thing as well, because basically I had the first, I think, 3 episodes with I always forget the names, not because I don't know, but because I changed their names for the episodes.
Yeah.
And now I can never remember which one is the real one, which one's the fake one. But the case of like the Black Hope Cemetery houses, I had that like recorded and sitting on a hard drive for like months, and I had nothing else. And then one day I just like I reached out to a lawyer. His shop was here in Houston, in the Heights, in like a really cool part of town, basically. And when I first started coming over here, when me and Dulce were first together, she would bring me there because she was like, "This is a cool place to go. It's full of weird stuff, and you're gonna love it." And actually, I'm really annoyed. I took off my ring to wash my hands, and it's sitting on the thing. But I have a ring from the Wild collection and one of like the original T-shirts, and unfortunately, the place burned down in 2019, and that was right before I moved over. So it was like a big part of Houston that I just assumed I would have in my life. Like, not to sound dramatic, but like I literally, when I was moving over here, I was like, that's where I'm going to go to like just hang out and meet friends.
Yeah.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was gone by the time I moved here. But yeah, so I had been like following them on Instagram and stuff, and I don't even know what Instagram account I reached out to him from, like my personal one or what. But I was like, hey, this is a long shot, but like I've seen you doing up this house now for the last 2 or 3 years. Like, he's a weird guy, and I mean that in the most loving way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he has stories to tell. And yeah, sure enough, he did. So like he was, I want to say like he wrote back like immediately or like within a day.
Wow.
And then it was like, oh shit, now I have to go and interview this guy in his house. And I was like I was like literally like, because I'm like a really, like I overthink everything, and I'm like quite nervous and stuff in certain situations. And I was like, I'm gonna fuck it, I'm gonna ruin it, everything's gonna be wrong. And I actually did, like I made like a lot of mistakes in that I have now learned from, thankfully. But yeah, no, it was just him purely being like the biggest sweetheart ever.
Yeah.
And then that day I brought Dulce with me, and I was like, I'm really grateful now that she was there, because like you can go to Ravenwolf and you can pay for a tour and he'll show you around. But like when he met us that first time, it was hot. I think it was like an August day or something, like, and so I was like sweating, carrying in all my bags. I was like, I had dressed up nice because I knew like he always wears a suit. And yeah, thankfully he just took Dulce and was like, oh, let me take you on the tour. And I was just there, and I was like, all that like B-roll and all that I got was literally just me panicking, trying to like take it all in and like see what can I shoot here. And I think we were in his house for like 7 or 8 hours that day. Like it was a long, like not all the interviews are like that, thankfully. But yeah, and then he invited us back straight away. I think like 6 weeks later for his Halloween party or something.
Cool.
Which was fantastic. And then he has events at Ravenwolf, and the last event that we went to was because he invited us back for Christmas then, like a friend's Christmas thing, and we couldn't go. We both got sick. And then so yeah, Valentine's Day is actually our wedding anniversary, and he was having an event that night. So Dulce was like, we're going. And and so we went, and there was like burlesque performers, there was like influencers and stuff there. Like it was just a lovely time. And the start of the night was kind of awkward because nobody knew each other. And then we were kind of like, maybe we should just go to bed, because we had eaten all this delicious food and we were like really full and tired. And then as we went to bed, all the performers started coming up the stairs because they didn't know, they hadn't seen the place. So we ended up giving them the tour. And we were up until like 1 or 2 in the morning, just like chatting to everybody. And like, because after like a lot of the crowd thinned out and stuff. And so, yeah, it was just one of those really like affirming moments of like, Houston Strange got us here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So you do like us, you just kind of reach out through,
Oh,
email or
yeah,
social media channels and kind of establish that connection and
yeah,
then see how it all plays out. Now, one thing that you do that we haven't done really is just like we haven't done a lot of like on-site interviews. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so I think we could learn a lot, from you and other podcasters that do that. But Lawyer he's just like a natural born storyteller too. So you did get very fortunate with him. But then I've been watching your clips on socials and um like there was a lady and she was talking about it was on one of your recent episodes from one of your recent episodes and she was talking about how she works in a building now that used to be something else and she experienced like spooky stuff in the bathroom but it didn't used to be the bathroom.
yeah, yeah.
But how do you get these people to just like sit down, be so comfortable, you just record them, tell them their story and it's great. It makes for a great clip, makes for, a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was pure luck, and um, like some of it, like so far, I've had like two people I think reach out and say like, "Hey, I have a story,"
Oh, cool.
and that's like they're kind of the ones that are the most like, how do you put this? Because like it's also like they're just meeting this strange man off the internet. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of
Yeah.
going like, if I had a different living situation, like maybe we'd have like a studio where I'd say, come on over,
Yeah.
like I'll interview you here. But that's not the case. And like a lot of it is like building trust, like back and
Hmm.
forth, before like we even get to the all right, now sit down and tell me your deepest,
Yeah.
darkest fears. Um, but yeah, so with Jin and Melissa, they were both from Galveston. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. They were both from Galveston. Jin does Spooky Jin ghost tours,
Hmm.
and so she was a tour guide. So I kind of just reached out and I was
Oh.
like, she's a local, she's a tour guide. I reached out and I was like, hey, I don't want your stories from the tour. I want your
Hmm.
experiences. And it was like we probably spoke for like a couple of months trying to arrange. And again, like I work full time and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's like always awkward. So yeah, then by the time I got down and interviewed Jin, we got talking and she mentioned that, oh hey, the Galvez happens to be haunted. And I was like, okay, how do I get in there? And so thankfully she was friends with the lady who works there, who also she does do tours as part of her job, but she's like worked in the Galvez for, I think, I can't remember, I think she said 13 or 15 years or something. And yeah, like that one was like just really nice. And but again, it was
Hmm.
another case of like I talk too much. So when I do these interviews, I have hours of footage and I have to go like, okay, what's me just like yammering on and what is actually good story here? You know what I mean? So that's been like kind of my biggest learning curve is like
Yeah.
letting people tell their stories. But like something very interesting that has been happening in terms of like as I am talking to like more and more people, I'm getting more and more of like not the same story, but extremely similar stories
Hmm.
from
Mhm.
people who, are literally miles apart, years apart, and like certain things that I've never come across before in all of these, like the books and stuff that I've read, like with Weekly
Hmm.
Creep and other podcasts or whatever. And like some of it in the episode that's coming out tomorrow, hopefully if I can get my if I can get my act together, I got to go to the Black Swan Inn in San Antonio, and it was a whole like calamity. I was supposed to be going to a different I did go to a different location, and the town shut it down that day.
Oh.
Disaster. Drove all the way over, but like the people who own that building are lovely. They're also tour guides, but they're paranormal investigators. All this stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but as Fred was telling me his story, he told me like when he was a kid, he saw this man, and he was a green man, like covered in moss, looked like a dead body. He was a ghost and he was in his bedroom. And I was like, that's wild. I don't know if I necessarily would have believed that that would be a thing that you would see. Like,
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
sounds kind of Scooby Doo like.
Yeah.
But the week before I heard this story, I was on an investigation for another company that I work for. And this is a full blown investigation that they have mediums and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And one of the mediums basically described the exact same thing.
Oh,
What?
In
wow.
this, and again, I had never heard of this before. And I also like, I don't necessarily believe in mediums. I do happen to know that like these guys have had like a lot of really crazy like hits
Mhm.
with the stuff like based on their research and stuff. But yeah, so she was telling that story, and this is like 4 in the morning in like, you know, everybody's ready to go to bed kind of thing, and she pulls
Mhm.
out this like, there's a dead guy here.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
and so then like literally the week later I hear that story from Fred, and I'm like, okay, that's wild.
Yeah.
And then about a month ago, I was doing another episode, which will probably be like the next one, with somebody who's just a local from here.
Mhm.
She literally grew up like 10 minutes from our house, and they're like my favorite because one, I don't have to drive for 6 hours,
Yeah.
but two, it's like super local and really intense. And as we had finished recording actually, and I'm so annoyed, I might have to get her like on a phone call or something, because we were literally just sitting there drinking tea afterwards, and she goes, oh yeah, and then there was this one time I dreamt of a little girl, but she looked like a dead girl. And
Oh.
she like described like her teeth were like, you know, her mouth was like rotting and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And then she called her auntie because she had dreamt of her aunt's house, and this little girl was living in a cupboard in her aunt's house. And she called her auntie, and her auntie was like, oh yeah, your cousin has seen her. So
What?
I was like, boom, one after another, like
Yeah.
literally one place after another, and the same almost like thing described to me
Mhm.
that I had never heard before. And I was like, okay, this is wild.
Mhm.
And then another thing, like I'm having a lot of people like really flippantly tell me like, oh, this thing happened. It's not really a story, but this happened. And they'll describe something that like I personally have encountered.
Uh-huh.
And like that
Oh.
kind of stuff has been
Wow.
really like genuinely like
Mhm.
creepy, to the point where I'm like, I feel like there's something else here that I'm just like
Yeah.
too dumb
Yes.
to pick up on, like the whole thing, you know?
That's
Exactly.
crazy to have
Oh
Yeah.
those same
man.
descriptions over and over again. Like odd descriptions too, because yeah, I've never heard anybody describe an apparition like that.
Yeah. And the
Agreed.
first one I heard, they literally, the person was like, I feel kind of silly even saying this, but like I'm seeing like a zombie, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And, but yeah, so we kind of back and forth it a little bit, and we were like, well, maybe like that's how they look currently, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
whatever I don't, who knows, you know what I mean? But
Do you
really weird. Yeah.
like let's say that ghosts are real for a second. Okay, let's like throw skepticism to the wind and let's say the ghosts are real for a second. I would be the I would be the type of ghost to like really fuck with somebody. Like, what's the wildest ghost disguise that I can put on tonight so that they'll never be believed in a million years? You know what I mean? And I feel like that
Yeah.
ghost might be like, I'm gonna go full zombie tonight, guys.
Have at it. No, I've literally I've been toying around with the idea as well of like the white, like the bed sheet
Mm-hmm.
ghost, you know what I mean? Like I love that.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So that's my, I think that's how I would go. Because also, let's face it, how terrifying is it? Well, I can't even remember what movie it is. I think one of the Paranormal Activities, when the sheet is behind the person
Yes.
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
it
And it
drops.
gosh.
drops.
And oh my
Oh,
god.
I like
oh.
that.
I remember seeing that in theater because the camera like keeps panning over and
Yes.
Right.
panning
And you
back and
know
panning
something's gonna happen.
and I was like on the edge of my seat because I was like, I know that it's gonna be behind her, but I didn't know that it was just gonna drop like that. Oh my god,
Yeah.
oh,
And
that
the
was
nothing
insane.
of it all is like the scariest part. Yeah. Ugh.
So you have this new season of Houston Strange. How did
Yeah.
you choose Galveston? Like, was there anything beforehand that made you pick that? Or you just heard stories and you were like, you know what, I'll do that for the next season?
everybody in Houston, like I might have even said this, like the first thing when people here find out that you're into ghosts, they're like, oh, you got to go to Galveston.
gotta go.
And I was always obsessed with it anyway, since I first moved here. Like I grew up by the sea, and I didn't realize I can't swim either, by the way, but I didn't realize how big a part that played in my life until I didn't have it anymore. Like when I lived in Canada, I was on Lake Ontario, and I mean, like you can't see the other side, you know what I mean? It was like a
Right.
gigantic lake.
Huge.
So I always had water near me. And then when I came here, I couldn't feel like Houston's really flat too. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like there's a whole lot of nothing going on. And so the first kind of year or so, I'd be like bugging Dulce, I'd be like, let's go to Galveston, let's go to Galveston. And it's a real party town. And I'm not like a partier or whatever, you know what I mean? Like at all. I haven't drank in years. And so we would go down there, and it was just like, oh, I think I literally just needed to put my eyes on the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was that. And then after like months of like having the footage and stuff sitting there, because what also was nice about Galveston, it's only like an hour and 20 minutes. So I was able to go back after I realized how little footage I had and try and like rack up some stuff. And yeah, it was only then, like when I was going back through it, I actually did, and I talk about this in the episode as well, because I need to fill space in the thing. No, but it meant a lot to me. Like it was literally the last conversation I had with my great uncle. Was he told me he came here when he was like, I can't remember, he was like 15 or 16, too young to not be living at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had completely forgotten that until I was going down to meet with Jin the first day, and it was the first time I had come around that side of the island, and I actually saw like where the cruise ships and stuff come in, and like I got so emotional, like I literally, like I wasn't even expecting it, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh shit, like sorry, I keep
Yeah.
cursing. Like,
Okay.
oh,
Okay, we
this
do
is
too.
why, like, yeah. So I feel like Houston Strange also lets me be like a little bit more romantic and dramatic, you know. So, but I think that's maybe one of the huge connections that I just never really gave much time to think of before. But when my mom came over last week, we actually brought her down, her and my nieces, like Dulce's nieces, and we all did one of Jin's ghost tours. So we got to see the
nice.
island, basically vacated. The weather was like, it literally stopped raining for the tour. You know what I mean?
Wow, nice.
And
That's cool.
yeah, so it was great. I was able to show mom like why I like it so much. You know what I mean? And she was just the whole time, she's petrified of anything
No.
to do with ghosts.
Oh,
So she was like
really?
literally stood at the back, like anytime Jin was showing photos. Because in fairness,
No.
I've seen some of the most convincing ghost photos I've ever seen are from Galveston, you know? And so anytime Jin would like show a photo from a previous tour, my mom would just like turn away.
She's like, I don't
Yeah,
So you didn't
yeah.
get that interest in the supernatural from your mom.
I think it is her fault, to be honest, because she was so afraid, and I was like, "Oh, I need to know why."
Like, why are
Made
you
you
so scared? I gotta
curious,
learn
yeah.
about this.
Yeah, exactly. It's
And
one of those
that's
things like,
crazy.
don't do it.
That's crazy because I had the opposite experience. Because growing up, my mom and the family, every weekend back, you know, they had something called VHS. You know, it's a black box, you know, and you put it in kind of like a cassette player. And every weekend they would go to the local video store and get as many scary movies as they
Yeah.
possibly can. And like I said, I mean, we're talking, we was really young. We lived right beside a graveyard
Yeah.
and the whole 9 yards. But now, my mom, you can't get her to even talk about a scary movie. I mean, it's just like completely, it's opposite. So
It's like night and
you know,
day, yeah.
yeah, it's night and day. It's kind of crazy.
What happened? What happened to her? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't really know what happened, but the time that I noticed things start to change in the other direction with her as far as watching scary movies, we was living in Northern Virginia. One of her good friends had a son, and that son was dying of HIV and was in the hospital. Okay, now to shorten the story, they was in the hospital visiting one day, and it just so happened that on the TV in the hospital, and okay, now that I think about this is crazy how this always ends up. The movie The Exorcist happened to
I
be,
knew you were gonna say that.
and I mean, but this is a true story. And they left for a few minutes, and then when they came back, he was out of the bed on the floor, like, and they asked him what happened, and he's like, uh, "Just you don't need to watch movies like this."
Oh, okay.
So,
Wow.
and like I said, apparently something had grabbed him and yanked him out of the bed, and it just so happened that show was on. So from that point on, my mom's like, okay, there's something connected to these shows because it was something she personally experienced.
Mhm.
And that's also a reason every time I watch a scary movie, even though I watch them all the time, I always say like a little prayer to bind them if there's any curse or spirit or any kind of attachment to that.
Mhm.
But that's the thing that I relate to that switch.
Mhm.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then when I got to talking about it, I'm like, really, here we go again. Why does that have to always come up?
Every
Every
episode,
episode,
Adam.
yeah. Every episode.
Really?
The Exorcist comes up in some way.
Well, so The Exorcist wasn't even allowed in Ireland when it first came out. Like, it was banned. And then
Really?
when it did come out, I don't know what year it was like given the okay or whatever. But like, if me and my dad were to watch it, like, it was literally in secret. Like, my mom couldn't know about it, that kind of thing. Like, yeah. So I think for
no.
me, I do think that was a big part of it. Like, you know, I wanted to see, like, you know, what's so scary. But it's interesting as well that you say about like movies having that kind of impact and like stuff happening after a movie. I was recently talking with Kadra from Perplexity. She had me on her show for like a Halloween or like a horror movie kind of thing. And she said like some weird stuff started happening after I cannot think of the name of the movie now, but like the point of the movie was a cursed film kind of thing. And like
Oh.
very weird stuff started happening
Yeah.
in her apartment. I've talked to her since, and she says everything's calmed down. Could have all just been like some random coincidences, but it was very interesting. I thought, yeah,
That's weird.
That
yeah,
is.
Sometimes you just gotta watch Shrek after. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Palate
It's
cleanser.
The Office for me. I have to go to The
Yeah.
Office. Yeah, yeah.
Golden Girls.
We've all got
Brian's
one.
like, I just put on The Exorcist again. Like, it's just a double feature.
I'm watching Vampire Diaries, Supernatural, something still themed correctly, but maybe not on that level.
Yeah, yeah. One of my go-tos is also like Hellier. I find like
Mm.
I'm just constantly rewatching that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's a good
Always.
series.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you, it seems like, as far as the Galveston episodes, most of the ghost stories that was it Jen and Melissa were talking about kind of originated from that 1900 storm, which
Mhm.
I never really heard about before those episodes because I'm not from Texas, so I don't know a ton of Texas history. So I was kind of surprised at the amount of death that storm
Yeah.
caused, truly.
Yeah. me too.
Yeah. And it's funny because that video thankfully like took off on TikTok. Like TikTok is so hit or miss. And I
Yeah.
personally don't use it, but I post there. And now you can post like full length videos. So I was like, oh well, let me just throw it on, see what happens. And I think it's at like 100,000 or just under 100,000. But like people in the comments are literally arguing, going, I learned about this in school, and the other people are like, I didn't learn anything about this in school, and then the other people going, yeah, you did, you're just too dumb. But
You just don't remember it.
yeah, but no, so I like talk about like morbid curiosity. I had
Yeah.
read a book. I read a lot of his books actually. What's it? Eric Larson. He does. I think it's like historic. It's not historic fiction. I don't know how you would really describe it, but he like the research that he does is like out of this world. And he actually went to Rosenberg Library and went through like letters that people were sending from that day, newspaper reports.
Oh, wow.
And the weatherman at the time had been keeping like a diary, which is just what people did then. Like, and so based off all of these reports and the diary, Eric Larson put together like a really easy read of like what happened in the Galveston storm in 1900. I like that's why I like his book so much. Like he makes them easy to read. Like anybody can pick these
Yeah.
up, and it's
Mhm.
like sometimes like the way he writes, he'll say like he might fabricate a conversation that may have happened, but here's like the actual facts that did happen after that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, like some of the just absolute shocking facts. Like, and it's something that I can never um like I'm constantly repeating myself telling these stories, but like the most fascinating one, and I think I quoted it in one of the season 1 episodes, was like as I was reading this account of this horrific storm, he talks about like this English guy who was living in an apartment building down there, who was like, these are brand new apartments. This is the strongest thing that man has ever made. I'm not leaving. And I have loads of money, so I'm indestructible. But he was on, I think, the 4th floor, which was a high rise, I think, at the time. I might be wrong. But anyway, he was there and like the barometric pressure dropped. And so he got sucked out of his closed window. Like the window got sucked out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I don't think his body was found, or like if it was, I don't think it was claimed. But like that is not a paranormal event. That's a very real thing that happened. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it takes me back as well. Like one of the things in it was, I think the water rose something like 3 or 4 feet in as many seconds. Like literally just went, bloop, 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 and now it's
Mhm.
up here now. But I remember being at the beach as a teenager. We would go down like in the winter time, like when it was cold, and it was like, well, we would have the whole place to ourselves. There was like old people who still go down there and they'll skinny dip in the morning. It's because this beach is like really out of the way.
I
So
love
they'll
that
go
for
down.
them.
Nobody bothers. Yeah, nobody bothers them. And we would be down there. We would kind of go to our own side, whatever. But then we would have the whole day where you could just be like up to no good. Like we would be like, you know, barbecuing, having beers, whatever. But we would also be hanging out like just in the water. And like I said, I can't swim, but I would be in the waves, like just messing around. But
Mhm.
there was one day when like the water was at our, say, like at our hips, and then a wave came in and it just didn't go back down. So all of a sudden it was up to my neck. And I was like,
Oh,
this is a bad situation for me. I'm getting out of here. You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh my God,
Um,
that's so scary.
yeah. So like when like real natural stuff like that is honestly the scariest part of that storm. But yeah, and then just so much devastation. Like I can't remember the exact figures now, and there is no exact figures. There's like an
Mhm.
estimated, I think, between 6 and 10 or 6 and 12,000. But yeah, they do claim, I don't, I'm sure somebody might say otherwise, but they do say that it's the single most fatalities from a natural disaster in American history, I think. But yeah, I might be wrong, but either way, it's up there. Like it's horrific. Yeah.
That's insane.
Mhm.
Um, I thought that so as Jen was telling the story about, the unnamed woman that was saving
Mhm.
all the people in the Sealy building, and then she just kind of casually like went over the fact, I think she called them the Galveston vampires that were like
Galveston
looting all of the
ghouls.
body. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, it might be morbid of me, but like I wanted her to speak more on that. I was like, I got to know more about this. Just casually calling somebody just one of the Galveston vampires. I was like, the what now? What?
Yeah.
That she
It
has the most interesting stories.
Yeah, no, like honestly, she's just a well of knowledge. Like,
Yeah.
and this is a plug for her tour company, and like I can attest to it now. Like I've sat there with her on her own for like 4 or 5 hours, and I've also done her tours, but she does the ghost tours, she does the archaeological tours, she does like golf cart tours where like she goes over the whole island. Like it's insane. And so she's just has this vast well of knowledge. But yeah, the Galveston ghouls, I've seen some places report that that's maybe not true, but then there's also like so many newspaper reports of it happening. So I don't know that it was necessarily a roving gang, but I
Right.
definitely think it was happening. Like
Yeah.
There was bodies everywhere. There was looting going on, and it was, yeah, like, not to get too graphic, but it was quicker to just remove the digits than the jewelry. And like, this is Texas, like, people were getting shot on the spot for looting, so
For
that's
doing
why they
that.
were being quick. You know what I mean?
Just like
Yeah.
slicing off an ear and going.
Oh
That's
my
crazy.
Well, they were using their teeth. That's why they got the name ghouls. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
So you
Can
not
you
only have
imagine?
this.
I'm not going to imagine, but can you imagine just like casually just ripping somebody's ear off
Mm.
just for the earring? Just
I mean,
getting a little finger off of there. Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
Not for me. Nope.
yeah, because and this is the thing, it was like similar to the Titanic. Like, the Titanic was going down, people were wearing all of their jewelry because they were like, well, I don't want to get separated from this, and if I
Right.
make it back to
Yeah.
safety, this could be the only wealth that I have. I mean, if I go down in some sort of natural disaster, I'm worth about $15 in fake silver. Like, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I don't know what y'all are
Same,
getting from
same.
me, but that's
Well,
crazy.
and that tells me, okay, so there was this natural disaster that happened, all of these sudden violent deaths.
Mhm.
And then in the aftermath, there was more violence going on. And so it's not hard to imagine that that would be a hotbed of supernatural and paranormal activity.
Yeah, and the other thing about Galveston, like, Galveston was again, I'm just like misquoting myself now, but I remember looking into it earlier in the year. Like, Galveston would have been more successful than Houston at that point. It definitely was more successful than Houston and Dallas at that point in time. And it was that storm that literally wiped it off the map.
Oh, wow.
And they've spent the last 100 years trying to recoup that. And it's not to say, like, it's today it's like a bustling um place, but it's a destination as opposed to like a business, or
Mhm.
yeah, like a business hub kind of thing. Like, whereas Houston is chock full of like corporations and oil and gas and stuff like that.
Right.
That's what Galveston was at the time. And then, but
Mm.
the other thing about it is, like, we're really, really lucky with how well um how well preserved the newspapers from the time were, because there's a website and it's literally called like texasnewspapersarchive.com or something like that.
Mhm.
And you can go through, and the Galveston Star or the Galveston Press, whatever it was, like, every single issue is there. And you can like search, like, do keyword searches. So I spent like way too long this year trying to find out the history of Lawyer's house. And
Mhm.
that was going to be like my big update, because he's never
Mhm.
found out. And unfortunately, and I only found this out recently, but I kept coming up like with duplicate forms, and I'm like reading like handwritten um house deeds from like 1875 and stuff like that. And it's really frustrating and it's really hard. And I would find that like the house or the plot of land had changed names like 15 times in a month. And
God.
this weird stuff. But then I found out that like in Navasota, the town had burned down like twice. Wooden buildings,
Oh,
they caught fire. So all of their records were like duplicated, and nothing is like set, literally, like nothing is set in stone. Like, it's
Mhm.
really, really hard to find out some of the stuff. But all of the news from Navasota was coming from the Galveston newspapers at the time. So had read about one of the families who owned Ravenwolf at one point. Actually, multiple people that owned Ravenwolf at one point or another had been conducting business in Galveston. Like, that was their main hub. And then I guess Navasota was like, I don't know, I think it was a huge lumber town. So the train literally runs through Lawyer's backyard all the way down to Galveston. You know what I mean? So that's like the people who definitely owned Ravenwolf and the land that it's on at one point owned the lumber yard in Navasota that would have taken the lumber down to Galveston. But like,
Mhm.
as I'm going through reports, and I've shared like some of them on my social medias at certain points, because some of them are just so outlandish. I'm like, how did this make it into the paper? But like, there's people getting beheaded by like just vagrant uh planks of wood like that,
Oh
got
God.
caught in the saw and like launched at speed, or the
Ooh.
train was like constantly taking people out. There's a kind of a legend down in Galveston of a dude getting beheaded by the train, and his ghost brought people to the head, like and his hat was still on his head, like this kind of thing. So for me, I love a true ghost story
Mhm.
as much as I love a legend, but I really try to sort them out a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, the Galveston history though is it's just wild, and like the real history, like.
Mhm.
And again, I haven't even spoken to lawyer about this, because the plan was to go with all of the files and be like, here you go. But
Yeah.
it's not happening. And I've spent so long doing it. But one of the people who owned Ravenwolf was an advisor to the president during World War One. And he was actually sent to Europe to like try and say like, hey guys, like let's calm down. Um, but his nephew was, because these are all like big money families, so that's why I think maybe the land was just used as like almost like just constantly mortgaged out, and then that's why there's so many.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, if you do this you have the rights to use it, whatever. But his nephew was on the family ranch like a couple hundred miles away from Ravenwolf, and he was sharpening his shears in the barn, and the shears got caught on the sharpening stone, and he slit his own throat.
Oh my God.
And his wife and maid dragged him back into the kitchen, and he bled out on the floor. And I was like, I'm constantly finding like these really dark Final
Yeah.
Destination style deaths, and they're all popping up like from these old newspapers and stuff. But as I was doing the research, like I was here until like 4 a.m. doing it, and I was like, how am I like not seeing where the like connecting the dots? But I would see the
Mhm.
same family names and just horrific things happening like
Mhm.
throughout. Yeah. But it's all so well preserved. Yeah. Sorry, now see, I told you I was going to ramble.
I was thinking Final Destination as you were talking about all
Yeah,
this.
yeah, that was
Oh.
wild.
Have you had like any connection maybe with a curse or any kind of generational things like that?
I don't know, like not that I've heard of. I think it's very easy to kind of go, because like Ravenwolf was the haunted house,
Mhm.
because it had laid abandoned for a while, or looked abandoned for a little while. So people were already kind of making up their own stories, you know. Um, and now I'm friends with another lady who lives in Navasota. She runs one of the antique shops and also does the ghost tours. And so some of the stories that like locals would tell about Ravenwolf were actually from another house, where similar things did happen in time. Like a lot of the time it's like you'll hear the same story of a child that like fell out a window and like
Mhm.
died in some gruesome way or another. And now you can still hear his cries or whatever
Mhm.
throughout the house. But again, like actually the same family owned both houses in the town at one point. The father
Ah.
lived in one house, the son lived in another. They both had the same name. So I mean, if it is a generational curse, like the generations are there to see it through. But like something that lawyer said that like really blew me away, and it's probably in the episode. I can't, like, to be honest, like I've edited out so much stuff to try and like keep an actual, because as I'm talking now, how I jump around, like that is the interview, and then I have to try and
Yeah.
like rein it all back in.
Mhm.
But no, I'm almost sure he did. I kept it in, but he said he had this like really like overwhelming experience walking up one of the stairs of Ravenwolf at one point, and he basically had like a vision or something, and where he was the dad saying like, go on, like telling his son like, you go on back home, and it was a little black child that he saw. He was saying, you go on home, I'm going to work, kind of thing. But then it came like full circle, because now as an African American man, he owns the house. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it was just
Mhm.
like this, I don't know, for him, I think it was a really like fulfilling dream.
Yeah.
But he was convinced that, I can't remember if it was a dream or a feeling that he got, but he thinks that that was like basically the past reaching out to him saying like,
Mhm.
no, we're still here. You're
Yeah.
doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
cool.
So I don't know about generational curses and stuff. Hopefully, maybe I can find a story. That seems heavy.
What
Yeah,
do you
just
think, Adam, about you hear the phrase stone tape theory? Somebody dies
Oh,
in a violent, gruesome way, and it just keeps replaying, right? And some
yeah.
people are more in tune to hearing or seeing that than others. What do you feel about that? How do you? I mean, I can see it. It makes sense to me. Um,
Yeah, I recently I've heard people like kind of complaining about like, oh, stone tape theory.
yeah,
But I think it was just one of those things like liminal spaces is like a trigger word for me because I hear it so much, but I'm like, it makes sense, I get it, but it just became like such a like a TikTok term, right?
yeah, like trending, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think like the old man in me just didn't want to accept it. But no, the stone tape theory, I 100% believe in something along those lines because
Hmm.
um again, I don't think I've ever experienced anything, but like a lot of these, especially old ghost stories, like the lady in white, the lady in blue, or
Hmm.
whatever, like 100%, like that makes sense to me. But the ones that like really drive it home, and these are like my favorite ghost stories that I've ever heard. I'm pretty sure it's because of Jim Harold's ghost stories or Jim Harold's campfire. But people have described witnessing like murders happen, and
Yeah.
like or hearing what sounds like people being murdered, and then supposedly found out later that, oh yeah, that murder did happen here or that horrific event did happen here, but the person's still alive, like where the murderer was in prison at the time, like
Uh-huh.
awaiting, because one of them was literally Ted Bundy, which I don't know if it's necessarily true because like that's quite an easy one to just like pluck out of the air.
Yeah.
But I found that like fascinating. And I haven't heard any stories that I can think of off the top of my head, like firsthand like that.
Hmm.
But I'm like, well, if the stone tape theory is true, or whatever you want to call it, that sounds like it to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in one of the places that I was, again, I don't investigate. I just have happened to be there on investigations like a lot recently. But one of the places was in like a huge limestone area, and the building was built with the limestone from the ground.
Mhm.
And that stuff, I just think like, I don't know, it's like wood as well. I'm like a big
Mhm.
believer in the energy out of wood. I'm like, if somebody
Yeah.
bleeds into this, their blood's still there. And then it goes back to like the Hellfire Club in Dublin. That building is built out of the grave behind it. And I'm like, the reverence that is in the stones
Yeah.
is too big to me to not like carry some weight, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a
No,
long-winded
good
answer.
answer. I was curious, to know um, what you think about that, and if you ever do experience anything, you can give us the
Oh,
lowdown on it.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I know we haven't given you much of a chance to talk. I'm sure you got some good questions for Adam.
I just like hearing him talk. I'm an accent person. Like even at
I
work,
know.
even at
Me
work,
too.
when if somebody walks by and they have an accent, I'm like, oh no, come here, come here, come here. They have to talk to me at that point,
Come here and
right?
tell me a story.
For
Like I
sure.
tell people all the time, like this is my customer service voice. Usually, you know what I mean? Until I'm about an hour and a half into a story, and then it's like, oh, just get me to
Well, talking about stories, as far as since you've been doing Houston Strange, what's the one that creeped you out the most?
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm trying to think right now because I have a few. Uh, the one that's like on the top of my mind is the one that I'm currently editing. It's finished. I just need to fix the levels on it real quick and re-upload it.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
you don't have to give it away. We don't want,
no, no, no. I mean, it's gonna be out by now anyway. There's
Okay.
no secrets here. But no, yeah, in Victoria's Black Swan Inn, I actually had to include like EVP footage because,
Mhm.
like I said, I don't investigate. I'm documenting or storytelling, whatever it is. But I was there. It was like 3 in the morning or something stupid like that. It had been a really long, sweaty day. And I was like, I was over it, to be honest. I was like, okay, I knew that they were going to wrap up at like 4 or 5. So I was like, well, I'm here now. I might as well stay. Well, let me go try and get some more clips, like, or whatever, as I'm going through. And as I'm walking through what is known as the milking barn, because it was a dairy at one point, somebody or something said what sounded like the word memory, but it sounded like almost in a robotic voice. I didn't hear it at the time, but obviously I picked it up when I was editing. But then that happened. I walked through, I came back in, there was a piano. I was like, okay, perfect. Pianos always make good little B-roll shots. So I was filmed that, and then I went back out to the back of the milking barn. And the property is pretty big, and it's in the Salado Creek, or like there's two creeks that meet. There's a lot of trees and stuff. Like it is really gorgeous. But I had recently been in the Salado Creek for another episode. I was out with a Bigfoot guy in San Antonio, and we had done he is finding really interesting like structures in the creek.
Oh,
And it's
cool.
like, yeah, so I had this at the back of my mind, but as I walked out, I started hearing something in the trees. And like, I was literally laughing to myself because I turned around thinking like, oh, mate, I keep doing this. This is literally where my camera is, because that's what I'm gonna hit whatever with first. But as I turned around, it stopped, and I was like, okay, let me just keep going. There was like this old building at the back, like at the way back of the place. So I was like, let me just keep going over there. And then I started walking, and it started moving again. So literally I was doing like this, like turning back to be like, and I had my light on and stuff. So, but I was thinking, like, genuinely, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a raccoon, or I've heard like horror stories of like feral hogs up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to get like Robert Baratheon by some, sorry, that's
Yeah.
like Game of Thrones. Like, I don't want to get ripped open by some random pig. And I'm like looking back, but every time I look back, it stops. So like, obviously I hit record and nothing happens. And I'm like waiting, and I'm like holding my breath. I didn't mention it in the episode, but in the background, you can hear someone go, ha ha. And it sounds so dumb, because I was like, I'm editing this with like noise canceling headphones on, like all invested, like lights off, whatever. I can pick it up. But like, I'm not doing one of those, like, tell me what you hear. But
Yeah.
after that, I turned around and I saw a really big spider, and I was like, nope, that's enough for me. And I left.
I'm out.
So
It was a spider the whole time.
yeah. Spider with boots on going through the wood. No, but so I left. I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. Like, I'm sweaty, I'm gross. I have like a 4-hour drive back home. And then the interview had been done like 4 hours previous to this, and it was kind of rushed, and not that I wasn't paying attention, but like I wasn't thinking about it. So as I'm going here, like going through the edit or whatever, and I pick up that word, and I'm like, that's really weird. I call the guys who work on the property. I'm like, hey, is there like an alarm system or something out there? Like anything. I'm trying to think, like, you know what I mean? That would, because like memory, like what's that all about?
Yeah.
One of the stories that Fred tells, he goes, a lot of people come here to Victoria's Black Swan Inn, and they end up seeing one of their own deceased relatives. And I was like, that's really weird. Like, why would people experience that? They have this literally in a closet. They have a psychomantium set up, right? Which is 2 mirrors facing each other. And so I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time, but he mentioned that the ancient Greeks used a psychomantium. So I was like, okay, well, I need to fluff up the episode a little bit. Let me look into this. The ancient Greeks specifically used psychomantiums to go and talk with their deceased loved ones.
No way.
So there was one on the Society for Psychical Research. They had like this really solid kind of one and done article, and I was like, oh, perfect. They had uncovered supposed psychomantium. It was just literally like back in the day, it would have just been a cauldron, like polished, like bronze or whatever, that they could look into and see a reflection. But half a kilometer away from where they found this cauldron is a place called the Necromantium, which is where people would go to see their dead loved ones. It's got these long, dark corridors, and occasionally, like, people would bring offerings. People would go on like pilgrimages. They wouldn't eat. They would go there. It was a very like religious experience, and sometimes there would be oracles in the dark corridors to kind of guide them on their journey. The guy who did like the most kind of modern study of psychomantium, most studying, he said that what you need to do is focus on memories.
No way.
Okay. And if you go and you meditate on the memory of your loved ones, it's not going to be who you think it is. It's not going to be who you want to see necessarily. It's going to be the one that you need to see. And people would go, and this happened in the 60s, I believe. He like studied like 300 cases. And people all went in, they all did the same thing. They meditated, they stared into these two mirrors where they couldn't see themselves, but they could see the reflection of the reflection. And oftentimes nothing happened. But then maybe the day later, they would have a full body apparition encounter. They would have like telekinetic, or is that the word I'm looking for? Like they would literally have conversations with their deceased loved ones where like they might see a ghost, say, of their granny that they weren't expecting to see because this was the one who was mean to them when they were a kid or whatever. And it was this super wholesome, nourishing experience that by the end of it, they felt like whatever had happened in life, this relationship is now like we're set. And Fred just so happens to be a psychic medium or an oracle. So that might not be the most scary story, but as I was like sitting here in the middle of the night, sleep deprived, putting all of these things together, and then I went back to listen to the EVP. And again, to me, I hear the word memory.
Yeah.
I was just like, it gave me chills. I was like,
yeah.
this old ass house in the middle of San Antonio is like a modern day necromancy. And I was like, am I losing my mind?
Crazy.
But I genuinely think, I don't know if it was their intention, but I genuinely think that they have made this thing. And I personally, I don't like have like Christian views or anything like that. I just love the idea of like being able to go and have like a healing experience. You know what I mean? Whether it's mental or psychic or whatever. So I was like, God damn. But yeah. That's the one that's on the tip of my mind. And I straight away, I actually messaged Brennan from the Ghost Story guys, which is really funny because he's someone that I used to listen to before. And now we'll just like send voice messages to each other. And I knew, like, because I was on my way to work, I was late because I was trying to wrap up the episode and all this stuff was coming in. And I was like, too much coffee. And I send him about like a 6-minute long voice message. And I'm like, Brendan, I think I'm losing my mind. I think this is bigger than me. I think they've made it. Anyway, he got back to me about 2 weeks later because he was on vacation. And he was like, no, I think you're right. I was like, that's what I needed to hear. Yeah. So that's been like kind of the most like
That's
out there
mind-blowing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and again, like I'm just repeating myself now, but it's just the one that's like on the top of my memory.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that it's not going to be one that people react to the way I want them to. I think they're going to be like, oh, that's kind of boring. Skip to the haunted doll.
No way.
Did you
No
see
way.
this?
Yeah, I did see that. What happened?
I'm going to assume that Dulce is in the other room and she told
Ah.
Google to turn the lights off. But
The perfect moment.
the perfect moment. She's in there like with the glass up against the wall.
No, I think that's so interesting. I don't know. I don't think that people would skip over that because that's a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think there's something there, and I would like to have the time to go back and investigate it further.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Well,
I will.
maybe you
Hopefully.
will.
Yeah.
Well,
that
do
could-
you? Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, and that's interesting because mirrors like that, I mean, they're used for like, to me, they can be used for like dimensional portals.
Mhm.
We did some things on like Bloody Mary a couple weeks ago. But putting two mirrors together facing each other and you're kind of in the center, off center in a closet.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of crazy stuff, but I mean, I'm just like, okay, that's just a little bit out there for me because I really don't know what could be coming through, and especially where you can channel stuff like that. So to me, that is actually really interesting because
Mm-hmm.
there's a bigger story behind the
Mhm.
subtext. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot more to that.
Yeah, and I think like I was again lucky that I went back through my footage and I had sat in the closet for a minute, but again, I didn't have like the time that I would have wanted that night, like because there was like an active tour going on, like stuff like that. So if I do go back, I'm hopefully I'll have like my own crew or just a smaller group. But I did sit in it for a minute. I got a really cool shot that I actually thought I was in because I was like, oh, there's mirrors. Of course, I'm going to be in it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then when I look back at it, I was like, oh no, these mirrors don't look at you. Like they're literally just black
Facing each other.
emptiness.
That's
Like, yeah.
crazy.
So,
Wow.
yeah. And then in the room right outside, there's a doll that has been buried and given a binding ritual. And like, so that was the offerings part of like people do bring offerings to the Black Swan Inn, but they're in the shape of haunted objects that they're afraid of and they don't know what to do with. So the owner is just like, yeah, I'll take them.
Find it and
Wow.
put it underground. I never want to see her again.
So okay, and then I promise I won't keep going on. But that doll, it was on a TV show. I can't remember what the name of it is. I follow the people on Instagram. I messaged them. They didn't get back to me. It's fine. I'm not hurt. But anyway, in the show, they just said that it was buried and like forgotten about or like put in storage or something. It didn't say anything about the fact that it's actually back in the house, just in a glass case. And it does have
Ah,
supposedly, again, I'm the skeptic one, but it does allegedly have an attachment.
oof.
And it's not what you might think. And it's weird. I like Fred's theory. But yeah, so yeah. That's probably actually, now that I'm thinking about it out loud and actually yapping about it, yeah, that place is nuts. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
that
we're
place
ever
is
down
crazy.
that way, we'll definitely have to stop by.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Now
absolutely.
you have me intrigued. I'm like, what do you mean has an attachment? What's the attachment? I'm like, now you got me like, okay, no. I want
You
Teaser,
gotta
the
listen to
episode
the
drops the
episode.
no.
Well, Ryan, yeah, and this is just coming off the heels where he went and saw Annabelle and other cursed objects in the Warrens Museum. So,
Right. So yeah, and that's the people who facilitated Annabelle down here. That's Fred and Stephen. And I think actually now, I think it might have been at the Black Swan Inn. I didn't have like between PTO and money, I wasn't able to go up and check it out. I would have liked to, but yeah, I didn't have the chance. Yeah.
What would
well, let
happen if
me
they
ask
put
you
all
this.
these dolls together? Like Annabelle, that doll,
Yeah,
Bob the
exactly.
doll. I mean,
Honestly, I don't know. I caught one like I thought was interesting. Again, I didn't share it on the thing. That has to be
We're back.
Dulce in the other room. Stupid smart lighting. But in one of the rooms that does have, because I was just like, oh, I'll leave like a steady cam on here and like just scroll through it real fast, see if I catch anything. And there was one room that had like a few dolls that kind of situated around that are supposedly haunted. I don't know. It was a weird feeling, but it's because like the fact that you have to walk down this pitch dark corridor like to get to the room, and like a black orb just kind of comes out of one of the dolls at one point, and I was like, okay, like that's weird. This is an old house. I haven't caught any other orbs. I'm not a big orb person, but the fact that it was black stood out because the only other time that ever happened, to my knowledge, was with a different camera, a much cheaper camera, my first one, like different lens, different setup, but it was in Spike Island prison with me, Dulce, and our two kind of spooky friends back home in Ireland, and we were in like one of the sections, and just this weird kind of shadowy circle thing like moves across. So I did see that, and I was like, I do think that was something. Like, I don't think it was just a fly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it was a fly, it would have reflected white. This was like a black circle that just floated. So yeah, I don't know. Weird place.
Ooh.
Maybe I
Yeah.
should start investigating. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
maybe
just don't have the
you
time.
should.
Okay, and so I was thinking, so the episodes, and guys, if you haven't watched them yet, the most recent Houston Strange, the Galveston episodes, they're so good. Like, they really remind me of like a Travel Channel show.
Right.
Really. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, okay? Like the camera quality, the sound quality, the way that the interviews are shot, the transitions, the music, it's really, really good. But I was kind of hoping a little bit that there would be some kind of investigations after, because I was like, well, now I want to see this bathroom. And then I was like, well, now I got to see this haunted Walmart. Like,
Yeah, I know, right? And
I
like,
got really excited about the haunted Walmart. That's another story. But I was like, I wouldn't hate if there was a little investigation after this. So if you wanted to throw that in there later on, I would be so down. I would be very, very interested in it.
so I have been toying with the idea because, like, for one, I love doing the interviews. I love connecting with people and all that. But I do feel like, yeah, sometimes even I'm left kind of going like, well, shit, I should have gone
Yeah.
like, you know,
Like, I want
or
to see
even
it.
like, and they say with the Galvez specifically, like,
Yeah.
there's like the ladies' bathroom and stuff like that. It's an active hotel. It's also kind of pricey, so it's like,
Yeah.
even spending a night and stuff like that would have to be like a whole ordeal.
Oh,
But if I get enough listeners, I've started to ask, because I didn't want to do Patreon because I hate the idea of not being able to deliver on something.
right.
Yeah.
And also, I think they take 40% now. So I'm like, that's a lot.
Right.
Oh, wow.
But I'm like, now I'm doing like, because people actually reached out, which was really nice, saying like, oh, how do I support the show or whatever. So I'm having producers now. So if people want to pay, their names will show up at the start or the end of the video. You know,
Nice.
and so they can, because they are literally helping to produce the show. So I was like,
Right.
okay, so if I get enough producers and executive producers, then I will definitely start doing that.
Yeah.
And there is there's slowly the plans are starting to come together for certain places in Galveston and a certain hospital in Yorktown. Um, yeah. Because now, like, I know the people who arrange this stuff. It's literally just about getting money and people together. And
Right.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a perfect segue to what I was going to ask next. I was going to ask you, do you have any teasers that you want to give to our listeners on what's coming up on Houston Strange,
Oh,
or that you're particularly excited about, or other new different projects, irons in the fire that you've got coming up?
yeah. So recently I had like a job interview for a place that I didn't really want to work at, but it was gonna be working in media and stuff like that. It didn't work out, but probably for the best. But it was like a super validating experience. The guy
Oh, cool.
basically, yeah, like Houston Strange was basically my resume for it because I didn't have like a real
Oh,
stuff like that.
nice.
And a lot of like my recent work, like I've done like burlesque shows and stuff like that, and it didn't really fit their kind of vibe. So I couldn't show certain things and all this, that, and all the rest. But anyway, in the interview, it was like, no, he took it like really seriously, and he's like, "Oh, what's your process? This and that." And I was like, I don't know, like show up and hope for the best, you know what I mean? But I didn't get the job anyway. Maybe that's why. But no, so I was like, I think I need to take this a bit more seriously. Like, starting Houston Strange was me kind of taking Weekly Creep a bit more seriously. And now I'm like, I've pushed about this much, and now I have more like connections where like I'm actually working, which like I never would have thought that would have happened. Like, like working for other people.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, I think in March of next year, there's a project that I literally can't talk about because I'm not allowed, but it's
Ooh.
not going to be my thing. It'll be it's not going to be a Houston Strange thing, but it's very woo. It's in the Appalachians, Appalachian,
Appalachian.
Appalachia. It's going to take place up north in the mountains. And I'm hoping that it will like really come into fruition, but I want to take like a lot of time to do
The
this
time you
properly.
give to it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm like really excited about. Obviously, like it sounds so dumb, like I can't talk about it, but it's
No,
not my
not at all.
thing.
That's really
Um,
exciting.
Are
Yeah,
you
no,
saying you're coming up to our neck of the woods?
I will be up in your neck of the woods. And actually, potentially with my current job, I might be up in like further north than you guys, but I'm hoping to be up in New York, upstate New
Oh.
York,
Wow.
for very different reasons, just driving
Mhm.
forklifts, really. But no, there's that. That's my big thing that I'm like, no, I need to take this seriously. And if this doesn't work out, maybe I'll just wrap it all up and say, all right, time to sell the gear. But
No.
No.
no, but other than that, I have like one of my most wholesome interviews coming up probably in December now because it's already November, which is
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I've given up trying to keep a timeline. I'm just like the episode's ready when it's ready. Because
Yeah.
otherwise I feel like I'm not doing it justice. But yeah,
Yeah.
I speak with somebody who owns a shop in Austin and they're a healer. They're a part of the Austin Spiritualist Church. They're a medium. They have been dealing with the paranormal in a very positive way for like their entire life. And I've met them a few times now, and then I finally plucked up the courage to be like, hey, I need episodes. You have stories. But no, like I told them when I was there, I was like, there's something about his energy, probably similar to Lawyer, actually, now that I think of it, where it's like, I just automatically know I can go to them and it's
Mhm.
fine. You know what I mean? Because we've met in like some weird like situations paranormally and like just socially. And they've always been kind of like a grounding energy. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's very warming. They have
Mhm.
scary stories, but they have very cool healing stories. And then as well as that, I've got just really creepy stories coming up that I've one of my guests, I guess, yeah, we'll call them guests. They have lived with this. They believe it actually to be hereditary, Ryan, to go back to what you were saying about the curse. I don't know if it's a curse or a gift, but the whole family are like they see shit basically for their whole lives. And we talk about you know, how do they deal with this as a child? How do they deal with this as a parent with children? But it's the most interesting thing because she has a corporate job. She doesn't feed into this. And there's been like certain points in her life where she's actively had to go, like, this needs to stop because I don't have the time for this. So yeah, that was like a brand new, interesting perspective for me. Somebody who wants to be skeptical, but like stuff keeps happening. And then yeah, finally then the last thing that's on my hard drive for now is the Texas Bigfoot. I'm
Oh,
starting to
yeah.
look more like Bigfoot these days, and I'm also getting more interested in it. And again, it's an excuse to get out and see parts of Texas that I never would have seen before, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When I
So
think Bigfoot, I don't think Texas, but that's interesting.
yeah, me neither. But I am one of those people like and I'm sure I've said this probably on the last episode that we did together. Like I believe in like fairies and I believe in duendes and I believe in all of this different cryptids, and I think they're all the same thing. So I
Oh,
think,
interesting.
I think we did
yeah,
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah, and like now I say it just to annoy people. I say like, no, Bigfoot's a ghost. But what I mean is like, say down here, I'm sure you've heard of like the Texas Dogman, which is something that not that I don't take it seriously. I believe the people who have had these experiences, But we've also got a dude who slings hot dogs on the corner up here, and we call him the Texas Dog Man. But no, so I think the Dog Man, I think Bigfoot, I think all of these things are just showing themselves the way they want to be seen, you know what I mean? Or the way you think, like if I had seen something at the back of the milking barn and hadn't got scared of the spider, I wonder would I have seen maybe a banshee or like, a fairy, something that I would have thought was outlandish and crazy or scary. But if it had been a Texan, maybe they would have seen a Dog Man,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, I do remember talking about that a little bit on the last time that you were on the show, and that is an interesting perspective. I mean, it makes sense.
It's kind of where I lose a lot of the people who are black and white, like this is a ghost, this is Bigfoot, this is a UFO.
Yeah.
And then there's also a big UFO story that I have the NICAP reports. It was in the newspapers at the time. It happened a couple of hours from here. That's something that I'm really trying to get people to talk about. But obviously, I had people tell me the story from what they remembered from when they were kids, but I didn't have my microphones. And when I went to go back and rearrange, they ghosted me. So I was like, yeah, it was one of these days. I was like, yeah, there's so much of like Houston Strange that's like a lot of it's hearsay, like just when you're going around these small towns, they were like, oh, there's a headless horseman, this and that. But this one, I went up and I was like, I know I'm roughly where this happened. So I hung around the local barbecue spot and I just waited. And sure enough, this couple pulled up and I was like, they were very Texan, very country, very Texan. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't bring like mics or cameras or anything, because I didn't want to be like standing there, like shoving these things in people's faces and be like, oh, tell me a story. But when I mentioned it to him, he corrected me on the year. And so I knew, okay, no, this guy's legit. He knows something here. Everybody else that I'd spoken to that day looked at me like I was crazy. This guy was like, I can show you where it actually happened. Like the newspaper reports were wrong. And I was like, okay, but yeah, like I'm sure. Next thing I'm following this pickup truck. They weren't even wearing shoes.
Oh no.
He was, in fact, like they had just popped into town to get like their lunch and go back home. So anyway, next thing I'm following this pickup truck down like a very small country road. And I'm like, this could be a bad idea. But no, true enough, he took me to a spot on the road where it was different colored tarmac, which probably doesn't sound like much, but in the reports, there had been some sort of fire, some sort of crash. And he claimed that this is actually where it took place. This is where they dug up the road. And the reports say that, like, because this is some of the weirdest stuff, is that government army trucks came in to repave the road that night. So we don't know, like, obviously nobody knows, is this like alien or government or whatever, but something weird happened up there and people ended up with radiation sickness afterwards. And
that's so interesting.
That's something that I'm like actively trying to get more people on. So if your listeners happen to know anybody who knows anything about that story, have them reach out to me, because I'm desperately trying to get people.
So I'm curious, and this is exactly how like most, like, people in the woods get hacked up, kidnapped, whatever stories start. You're sitting there meeting these people and they're like, oh, here, follow me, I'll take you right to it.
Yeah, instead of a big van with like free candy, it's just like UFOs. Like,
I'm like, okay,
you're following down. I'm like, look, I'm following these people. They're in a truck. They're barefoot. They're supposed to be telling me where this place at. If I disappear, this is where we're going. Put my GPS on my phone.
So funny enough, right? In March of this year, I was lucky enough to go on a road trip. I met my dad in Denver and my uncle, and we drove all the way to San Francisco, and it was great, fantastic time. But somehow in the weeks leading up to that, I woke up, I've got an awful habit of like replying to people in my sleep, or like just opening messages in my sleep, and then I'll forget about it, and then like 2 days later I'm looking, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. Somehow I had shared my location with my little sister, And I was like, this was, I still don't understand what happened. But we were like, I thought she had shared it with me, this and that. Either way, we were like, well, you know what? This trip is coming up. Keep an eye on us, you know what I mean, wherever we are. But now, like, I'll be out in the middle of nowhere or doing something weird, and I'll just get a text, and she's like, "What are you doing out there?" She's in Ireland, just looking at where I am on the map, and she knows when I'm in
Yeah.
Houston, I'm safe, and when I'm somewhere else, it's like could be anything. So I do have somebody watching over me now at this point. But yeah.
My sister and I
Thankfully.
do the
Great.
same thing. We share our locations with each other, and I forget most of the time until I'm somewhere completely random. Most of the time, I'm just at the house, but like if I go somewhere random, like I was in Boone one day, and she texted me, and she was like, "Why are you in Boone?" And I was like, "Where are you?" I was like, "Can you see me?"
Yeah, it's like, how dare you go somewhere without me?
And
First
she
of
was like,
all.
"Wait, why are you not at your house?" She's like, "Did you get kidnapped?"
But yeah, no, so yeah, I've left it on, and now it keeps her entertained, following me around these like
Does
random
she
parts
like
of
spooky
Texas.
stuff?
She does, yeah, and she actually just booked flights to come over right after Christmas. So I'm kind of
Oh,
hoping to
nice.
combine maybe one of the Houston Strange paranormal investigation things with having her over here. So
Fun.
because she's funnier, like she's way funnier than I am. She's great whenever we do like family vlogs and stuff. Because we do like, you know, usually if we do a trip or something, like we'll make a little home movie of it. And 90% of the time it's me going, her name's Cleena. I'll be like, Cleena, just take the camera, like do whatever, I'll edit it. But she's the one who is like, yeah, she's just nonstop and she's always funny. And yeah, so that should be a more entertaining thing, I think, if she's in it with me. You know what I mean?
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun. Family, family thing. That's our thing. We have fun with it. So yeah, definitely have fun with it. Now, I want to, as we wrap it up, I want you to tell our listeners like where they can find you, listen to you, all the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube is where I keep pushing people. I think I have like 300 followers on there right now, or subscribers. But because this started out as an audio podcast and then very quickly became a visual thing,
Yeah.
now I'm like, I'm putting all this effort into these edits. You better go watch it.
Yeah.
But I'm also, yeah, like I said earlier, like I'm on TikTok. And what's funny about that is like last year, one of my videos like blew up for me. I don't like it got a lot more views than I was expecting it to get. All of them were like grandmas. That all of my followers. It was like literally their names were like Mima of 7. They're all like leaving
Aw.
little hearts and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay, this is cool and all. I respect it. But this year the Galveston video brought a lot more younger and like
Younger.
mixed
Yeah.
like men and women into it. So like that's like my biggest thing right now is TikTok. But yeah, and then message me anywhere, Instagram, TikTok. It's all Houston Strange. And all the podcast platforms and stuff like that as well, if you're more audio based. Yeah.
Do you have like email for people to send in stories or?
Yeah. And thankfully that's actually been keeping me going as well. In the meantime, it's just Houston Strange Podcast at gmail.com. Because I'm too cheap to pay for a personal a private email right now. Maybe someday, you know.
Us too, man. Us too.
Yeah, and I do like I get back to everybody like as soon as I have time to sit down, I'll like
Mhm.
write a decent message. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, hey, and we understand where you're coming from there because when you work a full-time job and then you're trying to do this little hobby here on the side,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough. And you're a one-man show there, right? For Houston Strange, basically.
Yeah, playing my little keyboards here, like making little sound effects.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's 3 of us and there are weeks we just can't keep up, because we've
no,
all got full-time jobs too and
yeah,
yeah.
that's just what happens. Like, so scheduling is literally like the biggest pain for me right now. And like just keeping the stories coming. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with the ones I have in the bank, and I would rather
Right.
focus on them and make them decent.
Yeah.
Because then every season is going to look a little bit better, and I should have a little bit more for the next. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean we're always learning as we go,
Yeah,
and
and that's it. Yeah.
yeah, and it's fun along the way, and you meet so many neat people. And we're so glad that we met you and Dulce, and that you've got your new podcast. And listeners, I can't stress this enough. Please go give it a listen. You won't regret it. And share the word so that Houston Strange can reach more ears and eyes. Adam, thank you so much again for coming on. We always love talking to
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
And
so much for having me.
yes, of course, anytime, anytime. And we'll put all the links out there to your socials and everything so people can get to you easily. And maybe they'll even send in some of their stories to you. You never know.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know
absolutely.
if anybody in Texas listens to us down there,
I'm sure
but if
I'm
they
sure
do,
there's a few.
if they do, we will hopefully send them your way if they have scary tales and stuff, and you can go make new friends, make some more new friends.
Hell
That's
yeah.
it. Sounds like you're really good at doing that, and that is a plus in this podcast world. It's a
Yeah,
plus
I
being
just annoy people
personable,
into
and
talking to me, you know.
but it does take being personable and authentic, to get
Right.
people to trust you and stuff. So, um, we have enjoyed it as always, and we will be listening to those future episodes and waiting for those future episodes. And if you find Bigfoot, you've got to tell Ryan because he he is determined he is going to see Bigfoot. So
You'll be the
And
first to know.
now I'm intrigued. My next search is beside Bigfoot. I think there's vampires out there now, so I'm going to try to find the real vampire.
there you go.
Okay. If you do, let me know. I'll fly out for that.
There you go.
Big discoveries in the future. Well, listeners, we want to remind you where to find us as well, and just Sirens of the Supernatural on YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook, and we are at Supernatural Sirens on TikTok. So visit us anywhere, comment, give us your ideas. You can email us at sirensofthesupernatural@gmail.com. And remember, stay spooky. Bye, everybody. Thank you again, Adam.
Bye.